Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Q Project workshop. Tonight, we're doing our 3D printing revolution workshop, and this is going to be a little bit of a different one. It's going to be our multicolor cultural fair, and I'm going to be giving you guys some details about STEM and or like comparing STEM and non-STEM skills and how minorities could use more of these skills and like how we can help provide them. And so we just want to bring more light to underrepresented communities in STEM. So, in case you don't know who we are the Q Project. We're an interdisciplinary organization that was homegrown in Merced. And we've been building projects such as 3D printing projects, drone projects, cybersecurity projects, and we try and blend the expertise of everyone from different majors and different backgrounds so that we can have the most successful projects. And so today for this workshop, we have three main questions that we're trying to pose and hopefully can answer a little bit about them. The first one is, how do we connect students that are STEM to those that are not STEM? Because if you've been in university, sometimes there's a gap between the STEM and the non-STEM, and it's tough to bridge that. And so we want to show that it's it's beneficial when the two are working together on projects and collaborating because everyone has their own expertise in their own field, and it's better when we unite. The second question is, how can we teach STEM technologies to those that are non-STEM so that they can use them in their career field? This kind of branches off from the first question, but it's the idea that even if you're not STEM, a lot of these STEM technologies are going to benefit you in your own career field. And if you learn them, you're going to be able to stand out from the rest of the group and maybe get that promotion or maybe get that recognition that you were trying to strive for. And the last question is, why are LGBTQ plus groups being underrepresented when it comes to STEM? This has been an issue for a while now, and there's been more research going into it, but currently there's not that much. So we want to pose this question so that people understand that there is underrepresentation in STEM for these groups. I found this quote that I thought was pretty like pretty straightforward for what we're trying to achieve. This businessman from Belgium, he was saying that to shape today and tomorrow's future proof workers, schools must teach specialized hard skills such as STEM skills that are high in demand. What I get from this is that what I was saying before, STEM skills are not all STEM skills, but a lot of STEM skills nowadays are meant for everyone, no matter what your background is. So if you want to be one of the future proof workers in the future, learning STEM skills is going to help you achieve that. And here are some statistics I found about minority groups within STEM. The first one is saying that the women and minority today contribute or constitute about 70% of college students. And this is for the United States. So 70% are in universities as opposed to, I'm assuming, men are is the other 30%. And the next statistic is saying that women and minorities only earn 45% of STEM degrees. This is pretty straightforward, showing that in STEM, women and minority groups are underrepresented. They're not even making up half of the STEM degrees, even though they're making up 70% of all college students. And going further into this, we want to show today that LGBTQ groups are being underrepresented. If you look up research with them in STEM, it's pretty rare, it's pretty hard to find. And so we're proposing that there needs to be more research and more help and more guidance to help bring LGBTQ and minority groups into STEM. All right, next slide. I found this, there was a research paper that came out this year, and I was looking through it a little bit to get some statistics, and I added these charts to the slides to go over them a little bit. This one on the very left, it was, or all of these are from a survey they conducted between LGBTQ groups and non-LGBT groups. And this first one on the left is showing social exclusion scale, basically a 1 being that you strongly disagree, a 5 being that you strongly agree. What is your scale, or how do you feel when it comes to workplace exclusion? And you can see that LGBTQ groups, they said there was a little they had a higher percentage saying that they felt excluded in their workplace. As for the second one, it shows that there's like a 5% increase in LGBT groups saying that they've experienced harassment in work groups or in their STEM workplace as opposed to non-LGBT groups. Then this third picture right here is showing on a scale from 1 to 5, similar to the first one, a 1 being strongly disagree, a 5 being strongly agree. What are some of the health factors and stress factors that you have at work? And you can see from it that LGBTQ groups are experiencing more minor health problems, more insomnia, more stress, and more depressive symptoms from STEM workplaces. And I think most important of all, if looking at these statistics, is the last one. This one is showing the percentage of people or how they feel on a scale of 1 to 5 about leaving their STEM job, as well as planning to leave the STEM profession. You can see that LGBTQ groups, for both of them, they're more likely thinking about leaving their job of STEM, as well as thinking about just leaving the STEM profession altogether. So this shows that there's inequality and a little bit of underrepresentation because they don't feel like they're being served adequately, and we want this to change. So, what are some of the goals for why we're having this workshop today? For one, you don't need to be a STEM major to learn STEM skills, like I've mentioned before. Another one is no matter your career, discrimination and inequality has no place. So, you shouldn't feel like you're being mistreated just because of your background or your culture. And minority groups can use STEM skills now more than ever. So we're hoping that instead of making LGBT groups feel like they don't belong in STEM, we want to reverse that and make them feel like they belong in STEM, as well as if they're not in STEM, to provide them STEM skills that are going to help them in their future, no matter what their major, no matter what their career is. And if you don't believe me on this, there's the workshop today is going to be talking about 3D printing. And we believe that this is a skill that no matter your career, no matter your major, this is going to help you out in your future. So this was a emerging technology that came around 2010s, and nowadays it's pretty well rounded. There's a ton of 3D printing research and a ton of products that are out there that you can choose from. And the best part about this is it doesn't require much knowledge to get started. And there's a lot of price points that you can get started at as well. You don't have to go super expensive. You can purchase a small unit. So what is 3D printing? It first off, it is creating 3D objects, and these objects are being created from digital files or models. So if you could imagine, if you could model your own 3D object, you could pretty much create anything you want. And this is what's so enticing about 3D printing is the options are endless. You can print whatever you want as long as you have the idea and the know-how on how to create it and model it and get it printed. And the second idea I want to bring up with 3D printing is you don't need to work in STEM to do 3D printing. These tools were created for hobbyists and professionals, so you can use it to create toys for your house. If you have a part that breaks in your house, you can fix it. But you could also use it in the workplace to help raise productivity at your job. And so if you're thinking about where 3D printing might be useful outside of STEM, I've picked 3 different categories that might inspire you and show you that show you that 3D printing is not just for STEM. The first one is fashion and clothing. They're saying that there's a current trend where 3D printing clothes is becoming more and more popular, and this is because certain 3D the certain plastics that you can use to 3D print have fireproof capabilities. And so people have been researching how might we be able to create 3D printed clothes or even using cloth and 3D printing cloth rather than like plastic. And you could create fireproof clothes out of this. You could try creating bulletproof clothes. This is an emerging industry and it doesn't really deal with STEM, even though it has 3D printing involved. The second thing I'm going to talk about is art restoration. I was hearing that big art pieces like Michelangelo's work, Da Vinci's work, all these huge art pieces that are historic, they can be renovated using 3D printing. And so people have been taking these art pieces, scanning them digitally, putting them into CAD, and finding ways to fix the parts that are broken. So say if you 3D model it, put it on CAD, and you see parts that are missing, you can remodel those in, print those pieces, and then add them back into the original art piece. And so this is a way that they're able to fix degrading artwork that is historic and has value to it. And another non-STEM use for 3D printing is in movies and visual effects. Hollywood began using 3D printing a lot and they haven't really turned back on it because you can use 3D printing to create visual effects, you can create costumes, you can create objects for your movie. And what they were finding in movie production and like video production is that 3D printing these objects saves a lot of time. In the past, if someone wanted to create, say, like a life size figurine that would be an object in their movie, they'd have to hire someone out to model it, carve it from scratch, design the art. Where nowadays you could just go into a modeling software, create it, have it print off on the side, and this is creating shorter deadlines for movies. You're able to create high production movies with less cost and less time associated. And so, uh, showing all those non-STEM related fields for 3D printing, you could also say that the limit for 3D printing is your imagination. If you're wanting to get into 3D printing, you should look into it because say you have a broken part that needs replacing, there's a ton of people that have designed models and posted them online for free, such as on thingiverse.com. And if you just need to print a new part, you can look that part up, print it out if the part's available. And what's even better about 3D printing is that if the part isn't available and you have the know-how, you can model that part yourself and print it. So if you're ever interested in 3D modeling, this is a great field to learn no matter your background, if you're STEM or not. Because if you learn how to model for 3D printing, you can create almost anything you want. And say you're in a workplace that has little parts that break very often, you could literally go in and create those parts for the company and have them stored so that whenever they break, you can reprint them. And that's going to save time for your company. It might get you a promotion, all that good stuff. So, with that, that's about the end of my talk of this workshop. So, make the change, create your imagination. If you want to learn 3D printing, we have tons of videos that we've already posted on our YouTube channel. You can find it at this link here. And we're going to be continuing to make 3D printing videos to teach you more about 3D printing. So if you feel like you want to get involved with it or learn this technology, you can get in contact with us and we can help you learn it. And if there's any, that's the end of the talking for today. I don't know if Armand or Jesus had anything else they wanted to add or any questions and feedback they had for this workshop. Let me see. I think there's a.
I think that was some interesting facts. I actually didn't know that. But I mean, yeah, that was some good pointers. Um, if you don't have to know how to model something to 3D print. Like you were saying, Solomon. A bunch of people post their files online, so you could probably find a baby Yoda, a Pikachu, anything on. You can find almost anything. I don't want to say anything, but yeah, almost anything.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just print it out, and it's pretty cool. Um, that people go ahead and do that. Share the files.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, thank you for that. Are there is there any other questions, feedback for this workshop today? If not, we can call it a day here. As well as let me give my sources. These are the articles that I reference for all of the information I had today. And if there's no more questions, thank you all for coming. I hope that you learned something new or that you are inspired to maybe learn 3D printing or learn another STEM technology, even if you might not be a STEM major. So, thank you for coming today. Check out our YouTube channel, check out our socials, and have a good night.